Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to Unit 2.2 of Social Studies. Today, and this actually into next week, we're going to be working on our California Explorer Research and Activity book. So I'm going to zoom out to show you what this looks like. So this is going to be the cover of your activity book. I want your name and date, please, down here in the name section. You can decorate and color your cover page, make it creative. Now, the first explorer that we're going to read about is Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo. Little is known about the background of Spanish explorer Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo. He was the first European to navigate the coast of California. His task was to find water passages across the continent of North America. He was also going to look for kind natives to trade with. Cabrillo left Mexico, which was called New Spain at the time, on June 27, 1542. Mexico was called New Spain at the time because it was owned by Spain. He landed in San Diego Bay on September the 28th. He continued up the coast of California, passing the Santa Barbara Channel Islands. High winds and strong currents slowed the ships down. Cabrillo and his crew made it as far north as Monterey Bay. The seas became stormy, so they turned around and stopped at San Miguel Island. He was the first person to chart the coast of California. So he was the first person to take notes and map what the coast of California looks like. Now, what you need to do on this page is you are going to highlight what he was sent to do, any challenges that he had, anything that he faced that made his ability to explore more difficult, and what he accomplished. So what did he get done? Then what you're going to do is you're going to trace his journey on the California map. So we know that he landed in San Diego. We know that he made it next to the Santa Barbara Channel Islands. And we know that he ended up stopping at Monterey Bay. So you're going to trace his route all the way up here from San Diego to Monterey Bay. Make sure you do highlight these sections or underline these sections about what he was sent to do, the challenges he had, and what he accomplished on his travels. Now, once you've finished this, the graphic organizer is at the very end of this booklet, and I'm going to scroll down there real fast to show you what it looks like. Now, here is your graphic organizer. Your graphic organizer basically has the three things that you underlined. There are boxes for you to fill it out here. So you're given a box where you can type your information about the task that he was given, why was he over there, the challenges that he faced, so things that made his job more difficult, and the accomplishment was what did he do? What was the end result of everything that he did? So as you're reading about each one of these explorers, fill in this graphic organizer as you go while the information is still fresh in your head. Now let's head back up. So we read about Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, and now you have an activity to do on this page, which is actually a lot of fun. So you're going to use a shoebox, some aluminum foil, a flashlight, and a pencil to create your own star constellation. I'm going to leave this page for you to read on your own to understand how to do it with the directions on how to complete it. Once you've completed that, we're going to move on to our next explorer, Sir Francis Drake. Francis Drake, an English explorer, lived on a farm as a boy and did not go to school. His father taught him to read using the Bible. He spent much of his childhood around ships. His cousin saw an opportunity to make money trading slaves, so he and Drake set off from England in 1567. They were also looking for the Northwest Passage, which was a mythical water route that crossed North America. During their voyage, they were attacked by the Spanish but escaped. Drake wanted his revenge. Over the next few years, he captured many Spanish ships and took their gold. In 1579, Drake was sailing up the west coast of South America, searching for the Northwest Passage, which was a water route thought to run across North America. He continued north and landed near San Francisco Bay. The Miwok people came to see them. The Miwok honored Drake with a crown of feathers, and they exchanged gifts. Drake claimed this land for England. So again, over here, you're going to highlight what he was sent to do, what challenges he faced, and what he accomplished. You're also going to trace his journey. So you're going to figure out where he started. So we know that he started in the San Francisco Bay. So he actually started in South America, and he went sailing up the coast of South America, searching for the Northwest Passage. And he landed near the San Francisco Bay up in this general region. So once you've traced his route and you've highlighted or underlined the important parts, you can go ahead and move on to the activity for Sir Francis Drake. Now, this activity is fun. You can do it at home. You can do it with your parents or siblings. The materials you need for this section are different kinds of spices. So these are all things that you're going to find in the kitchen, either in plastic bags with labels or in their original container, just something that shows what kind of spice is in that container. So a lot of the times the explorers went on these voyages to looking for the Northwest Passage, and they would come across these different groups of people on various travels. So one of the places where they would find a lot of unique spices wasn't actually North America. It was when they were exploring in the East. So when they were traveling through Asia and the eastern part of the world, they would come across different countries that had very unique spices, and they would trade those with, the native people that lived in those regions, and it would help them to gain more spices that they could take back home to their own countries. So a lot of East Asia had many, many spices that people used for their food, and salt was something that they used quite often, not only to flavor their food, but to keep the meat that they collect fresh, because they would heavily salt their meat to preserve it, to make and dry it out, kind of the same way people make things like beef jerky now. So what you're going to do is you're going to collect 6 different kinds of spices. You're going to write the name of the spices under where it says name of spice, and you're going to smell that spice and write down your reaction to it. So don't just say, I like it or I don't like it. Tell me why. Describe the smell. What does it smell like to you? Is it something that you really enjoy? Does it remind you of a different smell? So give a good description over there. Now, up here in this section, it says many explorers went on voyages to look for the Northwest Passage. This was a sailing route to connect the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean through Canada. The reason they wanted to find this shortcut was so they could trade with East Asia. East Asia had spices that so many people needed for their food. Salt was a necessity back then in order to keep their meat fresh. So go ahead and complete that activity. Once you're done, we will talk about Sebastián Vizcaíno. A Spanish explorer named Sebastián Vizcaíno spent years in Mexico looking for gold. He decided to search further north. He sailed from Mexico, known as New Spain at the time, on May 5th, 1602. After a grueling 6-month journey, grueling means really difficult. After a grueling 6-month journey, he and his crew reached San Diego and enjoyed fresh fish prepared by the Native Americans. He then continued to San Pedro, Santa Barbara, and Monterey. Vizcaíno and his crew didn't find treasure, but they did discover Monterey Bay. He also wrote detailed information about the California coast. He created maps of the coast that were used by many explorers. He also named the places where he landed, and the names are still used today. The Spanish did not establish settlements in California until 1769. They did this to ensure that Russia and England would not take the land from them. His journey was cut short because of illness. Most of the crew had scurvy and were dying of starvation. So again, we're going to highlight what he was sent to do, the challenges that he faced, and what kind of accomplishments he made. We're also going to trace his journey on the California map. So we know that he spent years in Mexico, and then he went up the coast to San Diego, then San Pedro, Santa Barbara, and Monterey. So you want to make sure you're tracing his whole route all the way up until he gets to Monterey. Some of his accomplishments were the maps that he made. Go ahead and reread this section for extra details, and make sure you're filling out that graphic organizer on the last page that I was telling you about while that information is still fresh in your head. Now for Vizcaíno, you are going to create a map as well. So Sebastián Vizcaíno created maps that many explorers used during their journeys to California. It's your job to create a map of your school or classroom for a new student to follow. Your map must have a key. Now, I know that technically we're not in a classroom right now. So what you can do is you can create a map of your house of how to get to your bedroom. So if someone were to look at the map, they would be able to follow it and be able to find your room if they were going to your house for the very first time. Our next explorer's name is Gaspar De Pertola. Gaspar De Pertola was a high-ranking army officer and governor of Baja in Southern California. In 1769, the Spanish government decided to start some settlements in California. They feared that Russia and England would claim the land before Spain. Portola volunteered to go and start settlements in Alta or Upper California. Portola and a priest named Father Junipero Serra left Baja on May 15, 1769, and traveled by land. Serra also brought along a historian named Juan Crespi. They arrived in San Diego Bay at the end of June. Their job was to establish two settlements, one in San Diego and one in Monterey. They sailed to Monterey and put up a wooden cross. They met many Native Americans along the way. They admired the designs of the plank canoes of the Chumash tribe who were living near Oxnard. The Chumash gave them fish, seeds, and acorns. Portola and Serra gave the Indians beads and ribbons. In San Luis Obispo, they saw grizzly bears and named the area Canada de los Osos, or Valley of the Bear. They created settlements, but many people became sick and food was hard to find. They survived by trading with the Native Americans. So again, we're going to highlight what they were sent to do, the challenges that they faced, and what did they accomplish. We're also going to trace their journey. We know that they started or landed in San Diego Bay and that they moved up north. So you can go back and reread the passage so you know what they were doing in those areas. And then we're going to go on to our next explorer, Juan Batista de Anza. The first group of settlers in Alta or Upper California were from Sonora, Mexico. Juan Batista de Anza led this group in 1775. They could not go the same way that Portola, another Spanish explorer, had gone. The Native Americans in that area were starting to fight back. In January 1774, Anza and his crew reached the Colorado River and were ferried across it by the Yuma Indians. They wandered the hot desert for 10 days and eventually made it to San Gabriel near Los Angeles. Then they went through the Central Valley to Monterey. He reported back that Alta or Upper California was ready for settlers. Most Mexicans did not want to move to Alta. They found some poor people and promised them food, clothing, and supplies if they moved. Anza guided them there. When they arrived, they built forts along the coast. The forts were protected by the soldiers. Soldiers also explored the area and delivered mail. So, highlight again what De Anza was sent to do, the challenges that he faced, and his accomplishments. Trace his journey. The Colorado River is right here in blue, so that's a good hint for you for how they were traveling through California. And again, fill in the graphic organizer. So by the time you get to the end of this booklet and you've read about all of the explorers, you would have had highlighted or underlined all the information that would go into this graphic organizer. Please make sure that your answers are detailed and well thought out. 1, 2-word answers are not enough. Please try and write complete sentences where you can. Now, that's going to take you through to the end of your California Explorers book. The next section that you're also going to cover is about maps. So I'm going to have both of these in the same video because the Explorers unit does overlap into the week where we're talking about maps. Now, we're going to compare some maps from the days of explorers and the days of exploration to maps that we use today. And we're going to write our observations or what we're noticing about each map and what is different about each one. So you have a good sized text box in each one of these 4 areas to let you write complete sentences and write very descriptive answers. That means you're not writing "it looks old" for a map that's from 1522. You're giving me specific examples, specific clues and things that you're seeing in the map that show you that it's from a different time period. What are you observing? Anything that tells you that it's a different map than what we use today. So the first map over here shows you what the world generally looks like now. After we've mapped it out several times, this is a rough idea of the continents and their placements and the oceans and all of that. The first map you're going to look at over here is from 1552, and I know it is sideways at the moment. Let me see if I can get it to rotate. Here we go. All right, so take a look at the map, not just at the date, but take a look at what is listed. Take a look at how the continents are being drawn, that you're seeing the continents all kind of lumped together without any oceans in between. Take a look at the names of things and the borders, if you're seeing any borders between countries and continents. Those are all important clues to look at. As we go on to the next map, this map is from 1548. Take a look again at how it's different from the map before it. Look at the names of the places that are labeled on the map. Look and see if you're seeing any borders between countries or continents. Look at the shape of the continents. Do they really look that way now, or do some things look a bit different? So make sure you're putting in as much detail as you can. For this map, let me rotate this. Okay, so this map from 1685, this is supposed to be a map of North America. So take a look at the map. How does it look compared to the previous maps? What are you seeing that is the same as what we'd have in our maps now? What are you seeing that's different? Pay attention to the names that are being added on things. All of the clues and details that you see, you're going to write down those observations in that graphic organizer at the beginning of this page, or at the beginning of this packet. This map from 1710 is a map of North America, and take a look at how it's a lot different from the maps that we saw before. Look at the detail that you're seeing now. Look at how things are being given more names and things are being outlined to look more accurate the way maps look today. Any details that you're seeing as far as the way things are being named and the way things are shaped, the way things are being separated from each other, all of that needs to be put into your graphic organizer. Now, once you've completed that, we're going to go on to the explorers and we're going to trace the different routes that they took. So you're going to use a different color, and you'll pick a color for each one of the explorers and use a color pencil or crayon, or you can do it on the computer in different colors to trace the different routes of those explorers. And you're going to create a timeline for California explorers. So what you're going to do over here is, of course, you're going to put your name and date, but based on everything that we read about the different explorers, you can create a timeline to show the dates that they explored. So who explored the earliest, who was next and next and next, and who was the most recent explorer of the ones that we read about. That will take you through all of 2.2 and 2.3 for social studies. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. I do hope you enjoy these units. They are really interesting. It teaches you a lot about the history of California, especially since a lot of those explorers landed right here in San Diego. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing week. Take care, fourth grade. Bye-bye.